Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Hello, welcome to this morning's live session where we become mindful and we work to set our mindset for the day so that we can bulletproof ourselves for life and be able to tackle anything that comes our direction with ease as we work to develop daily into the best versions of ourselves so we can accomplish the goals that we work to that we desire. My name is Jess. You're at my live. Each day I go live at about 5:30, depending on technical difficulties, which today I had a few. So just letting my EA know that. All right. If you are somebody who is a sales generating professional, or you work with kids, have kids, or you have employees, you're a CEO, you're a C-suite exec, you are a solopreneur, you're rocking this alone. Cheers. Well, mostly alone. Or you're somebody with a small team. Then you know that life is not it's not as complicated as we make it often, but also at the same time, it isn't super easy breezy, right? Because we are human beings. We are on this planet having a human experience, meaning we experience human emotion, which means we have human desires, which we can then establish and create goals to be able to actually manifest those desires. But it doesn't mean that we are able to always rock through life at the best versions of ourselves unless we become very intentional to do so. Very few people were not scathed by childhood and by, early developmental years where we first became our personality and, developed some of those early triggers of things that annoy us, irritate us, frustrate us, right? And actually that happens all throughout the lifespan. So none of us are unscathed. And what I have found is that the more intentional we become in really wanting to craft and curate who it is exactly that we want to be each day by being very intentional, not just waking up and just going for it. I live that life. I've lived all the lives. I've tried every lifestyle you can possibly practically imagine. Call it a few days of veganism to high protein diets, to staying up all night dancing and just letting the journey go, to being disciplined and going to sleep early, to the 5 a.m. club, which is where I'm at now, to loving staying up late and being a night walker. I was only just there not too long ago. And that was a difficult choice because I love walking at night. It's just the most beautiful time to walk, especially when you're in nature or near nature. But you can't burn both candles. So you got to choose which candle you're going to burn. Otherwise you burn out. And so when you are thinking about a life, obviously different phases, different stages, ages and stages, phases, all of it, you have different needs that you need to get out. If you're in, this stage and your priority is to earn, it's to continue to build your career, it's to become the best version of yourself so that you can continue to jump levels, right? And ultimately it's just leveling up. You just try to get 1% better every day. It's like tons of percentages by the end of the year, right? So you have to choose. But when we choose, because we know that life is not always butterflies and fairy tales, although it can be, there is a way to live in a less stressed state, right? We learned early on, I remember in high school learning about stress, but it didn't really click for me until a friend talked about stress in the way she talked about it when I lived in Germany, where I was like, oh. And then it became very clear that actually stress is one of those states that can shift us down into our, if you are aware of Enneagrams, into lower states of health on your Enneagram when you become stressed and disintegrated from your core of who you are. And then you act out your personality accordingly. Everybody's different. And so, well, not everybody, but essentially in Enneagram language, there's 9 different Enneagram personality types. So each of those personality types actually express themselves differently depending on the different levels of health. And of course, you know, each person has their own individual life experience that they bring into the table. They've got their own various forms of traumas or things that have built up over time to be something that they then act out on when triggered. You know, post-traumatic stress is quite real. If you've had those moments in life that really stuck with you, that were really high intense emotionally, then that is going to have registered itself within your mind and body. So being mindful that yes, everyone is different. At the same time, if you do know your Enneagram, for example, I'm a 7-wing-8. Okay, when healthy, we're vibrant and filled with gratitude and highly productive. But the more, you know, I move or we move and shift down this emotional scale, it becomes overwhelmed, being more critical, you know, fixating on things that I don't necessarily really want to be, more distractible, scattered. So which version do you want to show up as? Your best version when you're on top of things and they're stress-free, or you're able to interpret things in your reality to not be as stressful as what you could interpret it alternatively. That's the thing, right? A lot of how we experience life around us is how we interpret those moments to moments, because that's all life is. It's just moment to moment to moment to moment. So how we interpret those moments are everything. Are they stressful? Are they exciting? What language do we say to ourselves to help us process and give meaning to that which is going around us, right? And that's huge. So language is everything. If you start to pay attention to the language that you're using, is it empowering language? Is it disempowering language? Is it what emotion or vibrational emotion, vibration or frequency is attached to it? You can tell when you say some words and they feel good, they're probably high vibrational words. There's some language when you're, oh, this is over, and how you say it, it actually curates your experience. I have a friend who she will place a word exactly how she experiences that moment. And it's often words like, it was okay, it was all right, it was fine. And I always kind of register that as, interesting. I use different language to describe the same experience and walk away from the same experience having experienced it differently, often just because of the language that I became conscious of what to use, only because I've read a lot of books about this when I was young. And so then saying things like, it was fine, it was okay, never felt like you can interpret it, right? You have the ability to choose how you interpret something. It could be the most boring experience and yet somehow still be incredibly exciting depending on the language that you use. You have a tough day, but you go home and it was challenging, but I'm learning, you know, there were definitely moments that put me to the test, but you know, we're improving. Feels very different than, oh, it was horrible and these are all the reasons why. So language is really important. Each morning, as we bulletproof ourselves for the day, I challenge you to think about, how do I want to show up today? And in moments that will inevitably challenge me, what language do I want to use to be able to process those moments so that I walk away from those moments feeling empowered, feeling inspired, feeling hopeful, feeling like there's, you know, growth attached to whatever was difficult. And being sure to highlight the moments that are awesome, that are exciting, and attaching the words of how you want to feel as the adjectives to those moments and those descriptors and those experiences. Now, these morning sessions truly are designed to be able to help us, first of all, reconnect with our goals. So I mentioned yesterday, I can mention again, Harvard did a study in 1979 about a group of students that had actually written down their goals every night, right? So the morning is a great time to just sit down and really review those goals. Your goals are yours. It's personal to you. So ultimately it comes down to why are you writing them, right? What do you want to get out of it? What are your aspirations? What do you desire to want to manifest for yourself? Write it down. Then in the morning, review it so that we can stay focused on what it is that we need to be doing, that we're actually working on. Some people are easily distractible. I'm super distractible. Man, if something's exciting, I'll follow the excitement and it can take me away from what I'm working on. I figured out that if I write down what I'm working on and I revisit that every day, somehow this goes to this very quickly. And as soon as I go here, boom, right back here. And a lot of people are like me. So I'm not alone in this. And so if this is you also, where you're working on something, or you've got a full-time job, you've got a family, you've got friends, you're traveling, whatever it is that's taking you away from what it is you're supposed to be doing, then this is a great tool and a great strategy to be able to pull you back when life is, I don't have time to. Well, there's always time. We all have the same 24 chips in a day. What do we do with those 24 chips? Ideally, 8 hours of them sleeping. In a lot of instances, 8 hours are working. So that leaves you with 8 more. 1 hour could be getting ready. Another hour or 2 hours working out and moving the body. Now you're down to 5. 5 hours, maybe you've got family, 3 hours with family, but make it meaningful time where you're truly connecting, you're present. And then, maybe you've got 2 more hours. In 2 hours or 90 minutes or even 30 minutes a day, you can really make some significant movement, progress forward, working on writing a book, working on writing a newsletter, working on creating social media content, right? We have this illusion that we need so much time to do things when really we're quite efficient and effective with less time. I know for me, the busier I am, the more I get done. The less busy I am, the easier it is to find myself here and there and enjoying. But is it as productive? No. And I can be honest with myself, just as I would encourage you to be honest with yourself. Cheers. So in the morning, if you have a planner, the Empower Day Planner, if you don't, DM me, or I think there's a QR code actually on the page, is an opportunity to be able to really hone in and stay focused on what our priorities are and what the actual most important thing is that we're looking to do and achieve. So if you haven't already looked at things like your morning routine, your evening routine, your morning routine doesn't have to be a crazy 3-hour routine. It can be if that's the time that you have and that's what you choose, because of your life, your journey, your choice, you get to make that choice on how you want to spend your time. But it can also be just prioritizing one thing that really energizes you, right? I have really found that I love going live, even though it's 5:30, it's super early. Today I actually had a little bit of struggle, so it was a few minutes later. Just this action alone, hopping right into it, getting after it, helps me elevate. And the whole point is we're optimizing our state. So if you want to go into your day and you're in a low vibe state, Are you going to attract high vibe experiences, people, opportunities? Probably not. But if you spend the morning truly nurturing a higher vibrational state by optimizing, doing things like a sauna, a plunge. If you can see behind me, there is a plunge and a sauna actually. And the only thing is I have not figured out yet how to make the Snuvio. It's broken or something because it will not cool down the water. So I've been talking to this guy named Charlie for a long time trying to figure this out. Hopefully, ideally, I cannot wait. And because when I jump into the cold plunge, come out, poof, it is the perkiest state you can imagine. Swimming in the morning. If you actually are somebody who's willing to, you want to challenge yourself with like sprint triathlons or something along these lines, how amazing would it be if you were able to wake up each day refreshed because you jumped into a cold shower, cold body of water, and you got some fitness. I wrote up my affirmations to take to the pool. I'm considering going down there today and then doing the live from there. I have a period of time between lives. So, but again, it's intentional. So in your planner, you have the opportunity to say, what intention do I want to set for the day? When you go out and you know that you've got a big meeting, you've got maybe it's a lot of little tasks, maybe you've got a deadline coming up and you have to be really focused. Maybe whatever the circumstances, you've got to do 100 calls, you've got to do 200 calls because you're really going to stretch yourself. You've got, what is that going to be looking like for you, right? How do you want to show up? Do you want to be excited and enthusiastic? And even if it's not something that's like the most fun thing, but you find a way to make it fun. There's lots of different strategies and ways to make things fun to keep the vibe high. Because you'll hear that, like, good vibes only, keep the vibe high. If you know what that means, you know what that means. If you're not conscious or awake to that quite yet, that concept, watch yourself. See how often throughout the day you go from high vibe, low vibe, high vibe, low vibe. A lot of people do the roller coaster. I have done the roller coaster. There are moments when I'll get triggered by something around me being like, okay, I got to shift this energy. It's all energy, right? And it takes intention to actually, because I think human beings inherently, I don't know what it is, but we tend to like to just, not always, but we can tend to get quite addicted to certain emotional states. And unless you're intentional about that, look at how often you actually shift into these more stressed negative states. It can be very addictive. So if you're somebody who is going up and down, see if your emotional states are now an addiction. That's something to look at, because then you can break it. You can say, oh yeah, that is something that I go through often. How can I change that for myself? So you can change that by first just becoming aware, because you can't change what you're not aware of. And so recognizing that this morning session is about setting intentions, setting the tone, getting excited, recognizing the distractions that are going to come up, really focusing on the habits you want to continue to form, right? We got to change our identity before our habits, but also being intentional about what habits and how we show up with those habits is also essential. And then in the evening, there's an opportunity to reflect on these. What emotions did I experience? What were my emotions telling me? What thoughts triggered those emotions? That's the key. When you can become so aware of the thoughts that you're thinking, changes everything. All right, this is our time. We'll see you at our goal setting session at 7:45. Remember, your life, your journey, your choice. Go confidently in the direction of your dream and live the life you imagine. The road. Have a good day.